Hey guys, so after last week's reasonable success, I thought we'd give this automated sluicing plan another go with a few changes, like I said at the end of last week, that I think may have improved things. So the first thing I did is I changed the vacuum cleaner hose I was using for some drainage hose, and they're roughly the same diameter, but you'll see the drainage hose has substantially deeper grooves than the vacuum cleaner hose. So I thought that would be the first thing we'll give a try, because the very small grooves in the vacuum cleaner hose were getting plugged up pretty quickly. The second thing I did, which is not quite that obvious, you might be able to see there and there, is I cut the drainage hose into three equal bits, and the idea being that I can have a little bit of overlap like here. And what the intention is that when I'm doing the washing up, two things that are nice. First thing, it's easier to wash up to clean up a small bit of hose than to handle a 2 meter long bit of sluice material, essentially. So first thing is just the cleanup should be a little bit easier. The second thing is I printed some the second reason why I want to split them apart like this is I want to be able to compare the gold or lack thereof that I catch in the last sluice run compared to what I catch in the first sluice run over here. If this thing is working properly, I expect most of the gold to be caught in the top area here. Practically nothing in the middle and no gold down the end. If you end up catching gold down the end of your sluice, it means you've definitely also got gold going into the bucket at the end, and then you're kind of wasting your time. It's surprising how often, so whenever I've seen people do this kind of sluice setup with bond wires, I always ask them, where do they catch the bond wires, and invariably they tell me that they catch them all along the length of the sluice. And I usually stop at that point and try not to preach too much that if you're catching them down the end of the sluice, you're also losing some. So we'll be able to see this. So I'll wash these three separately in the end. The three pieces, we'll put them into separate beakers and look at them with a microscope. So that was that. So I had to print some, you see I've got some spacers underneath these holders, which kind of bring them up the highest. And these are the mid-height U brackets, and then I've got the same low U brackets on that side, and the idea being that it's all nice and smooth, so the difference in height makes up for the thickness of the overlap of the two pipes. The last thing we want is for water to be able to go there and then go that way, so I don't think that's going to happen with the setup I've got here. I think I've got enough drop on the sluice that's not going to be a problem. So let's just have a quick look at what I've changed on this side. So things look a little bit differently, as you guys can see. So the first thing I did is I replaced the 3 RPM motor that used to be here driving the Leadscrew with a 30 RPM motor, and that now allows me to go substantially faster. As you can see there, I can go quite fast now with this one, which is kind of what I'm intending. And I took the 3 RPM motor that used to be here, and I've actually made a little mixer. So once again, just a little bit of 3D printing, a little mixer that can actually sit on top of the hopper and keep the material in the hopper mixed up the whole time. Because I think a large part of the problems I experienced last weekend was due to separation of my material in the hopper. So yeah, hopefully being able to just let that 3 RPM motor run at full blast and just keep the stuff in the hopper mixed will solve all the problems. So yep, I'll get this thing set up, get the water going, and then we'll have a look at how the improvements are helping. So this thing has only just been going for a few minutes, but I think I can call it at this point and say that this is already working much better. You can see there the blobs of black stuff that are coming out very consistently now, rather than quite slowly as I had before. And in fact, I think as I've got it now, they're actually coming out a little bit faster than the water can wash them away. You can see there's a bit of material kind of gathering at the top there. And so I think what's actually happening is it's not the change to the speed of the lead screw that is making this work so much better. And in fact, I'm going to slow that down probably to about the speed that it was before. I think what's happening is having that mixer at the top of the hopper allows all the material to settle down and actually get into the threads of the lead screw, which then bring them out. So I think the big fix to this system was actually the mixer inside the hopper, for those of you guys contemplating something like this. So the rate at which the material is coming out is a little bit more obvious when I don't have the water dripper cleaning at all. So I've just moved the water dripper out of the way a little bit, and actually you can actually see how much material is actually coming out with every revolution now. So see the nice big blob there. And so yeah, I suspect the mixer plus, this is working pretty great at the moment. And for those of you interested in looking at the mixer, I'll just lift that up so you can see that's doing a really good job of churning that mixer up and making sure it all makes its way down to the lead screw. So as I said before, I think this mixer is the big difference between this week and last week. It seems to work quite well. Okay guys, so it's been a little bit over 2 hours or so, and I've just come in, and yeah, this looks like it has actually done its business. I can see the lead screw down the bottom, and all that basically remains now is there is still a little bit of material stuck there that didn't kind of feed through, so I can help that into the lead screw. I did just turn off the water, so that might not have been the best idea. But yeah, I'll drop the camera a bit. I'll just feed that through, drop the camera a bit, and show you guys how the sluices look. Okay guys, so here we've got the hopper right over there. I've just cleaned it all out, and here we have got what I'm hoping will be most of the copper and gold will be hopefully be accumulated in this area right here. If I zoom out, you'll see that the heavy stuff is very much concentrated in this area. As soon as we get halfway through the first sluice run, see there's so this is basically the overlap. So this is the end of the first sluice run, right there. You can see the overlap, and we have a lot of grey stuff. I think unfortunately the lighting for you guys isn't going to be quite as clear. Let's see if I can zoom in a bit more. So it's quite grey. Looks a lot like looks a lot like silica at this kind of end. So obviously looking quite good. So it doesn't look to be too much copper here, which hopefully means also not too much gold. If we carry on and have a look, so this is about halfway through the second sluice run, so now you can see much more silica, so the kind of grey, dull grey stuff, not much else. And oops, let's have a look here. Halfway through the last sluice run, doesn't look that much different from the last one, but quite different from the first one. And so yeah, looking quite good. I think what I'll have to do now is clean each of these 3 pipes individually, and then we'll get that into some beakers so we can have a look with a microscope and see what is in each part of the sluice run. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the beaker of material from the end of the sluice. So this one is the one that we're hoping will not contain any gold bond wires. You'll see it's quite shiny, and what that is the silica dyes that are basically smashed up, and they are causing it to look quite shiny. You'll also see, sorry about the stuff is all underwater, so you'll see when I move the water around a little bit, oops, let's get the focus in for you guys. When I move the water around a little bit, you'll see there are a few particles moving around, so the stuff in here mostly heavy, not much moving around, but there is the odd particle that moves around. If we are able to But the lights on this is not great. But what I'm going to do quickly is I'm just going to do a little bit of panning of the material inside the beaker, so that we can see once we get to the heavier stuff down the bottom. Let's have a look through and see if we can find any bond wires in this stuff. Nothing so far. It's looking pretty good actually. It's a bit difficult to look through the surface of the water, unfortunately, because this is from the end of the sluice run. It's still got a lot of carbon in the water, so it's still looking a little bit dirty. But I'm gonna say we're looking pretty good here. I'm not actually seeing any bond wires in this, which is exactly what I'd hoped would happen. So the idea being, of course, that all the bond wires should be caught in the first part of the sluice. Okay, so let's look at the next one in the chain. This one is from the center of the sluice run, and once again in here we're hoping to not find too many bond wires. Let me tip this the other way. We'll do a little bit of panning. Yeah, so once again quite a lot of bits of silica dye. Not seeing any metals, which is pretty much what we hoped. Look at that interesting little bit of dye right in the center there. You can still see some of the kind of integrated circuit that is created on the die. But at the end of the day, what we're looking for are bond wires, and we're not seeing any. I'm just going to use the water in there to move some of the top material away. So we get down to the stuff that's a little bit lower. If we're going to find any bond wires, it should be in this stuff here, really, not in the black silica over the top. And I think we have actually found a bond wire. So that definitely 100% is a bond wire right there. See if we can find any more. There's another one. Okay, so what this shows, and these look like quite long straight bond wires. There's some more there. So my gold sluice is not as perfect as it should be. I'm finding some bond wires in the center material. So let's have a look at the final bit, which is the stuff that is from the start. So this is where I'm expecting most of the copper and most of the bond wires to be. Let's see what we can do here. I'm just gonna fan this material out a little bit so we're not looking through the water so much. Okay, so lots of silica on top, and then lots of pins, which obviously this stuff had once again been 60 mesh sieved, but it goes to show how much actually gets through a 60 mesh sieve. On the plus side though, we look at we zoom in a little bit more, and all of a sudden you can see quite a lot of bond wires all over the place. There. Look how long that one in the center is. Let me see if I can get the focus a bit better for you guys. Yeah, look at that, very nice. So nice fat one there. Too many component legs. This will get definitely need some 100 mesh sieving before I can process this with acids, just to get rid of all those copper legs. This stuff has also not been through the magnetic separator yet, so that's another thing I can do to kind of cut down on these legs a little bit. But you'll see what we're actually looking at is pretty much only the surface of the denser material, and already we're seeing quite a lot of bond wires. They're almost everywhere. What I'll do now is I'll just wash away. So we're looking just below the surface a little bit. I'll try and kind of give you guys a view. Ah, yeah. Okay, so now if we look slightly, just kind of wash some of the lighter stuff off the surface. Now the bond wires are pretty much everywhere, really. So you'll see these, oops, apart from the light screwing us up, there's one in the center. There's a whole bunch in the center there. Bunch in the center there. Yeah, okay, so I'd say there's quite a lot there. You can kind of see them through the soapy bubbles. Let's look over to the side a little bit. I suspect we're probably going to find that the bond wires are everywhere. Yep, as we expect, bond wires all through this material. Lots there. Just basically everywhere I look, I'm seeing bond wires now, which is great. So yeah, I guess that's probably a pretty good place to end this video. If I've got most of the models for the 3D prints for the hopper and that kind of stuff on the last video on the description, if you guys want to print them out and give them a try. If you are a subscriber and you would like some minor modifications to those STL files to suit either your drain pipe or your auger or anything like that, feel free to let me know. I'm always happy to help out anyone wanting to give this a try. But yeah, looking bloody good. I think probably the next step for me in this process is going to be to design and print a much bigger hopper, because I think being able to basically only run half a kilo of material at a time through the little hopper means that I'm kind of going to be opening it up and filling it up quite a lot. So I wouldn't actually mind. I wouldn't mind being able to just go a little bit bigger. So I'll print a hopper basically as big as my printer will print, and yeah, and just basically do a little bit more professional version of what I'm doing now. But I am pretty much sold on this method. It's a lot quicker than anything else. So yeah, this is the way to go. Anyway, catch you guys next time. Enjoy.